So as soon as this morning, the former Republican senator from Georgia and Trump ally, David Perdue, is expected to announce he will challenge conservative incumbent Brian Kemp in a Republican primary for Georgia governor. This sets up what is easily the most high-profile Republican-on-Republican battle in the country, and it's also the very epitome of the struggle within the GOP today. Governor Kemp is one of the most conservative governors in the country, with his only, crime in Trump world being refusing to overturn Joe Biden's win in Georgia. Joining me now is Georgia's Republican Lieutenant Governor, Geoff Duncan. He's also the author of GOP 2.0, How the 2020 Election Can Lead to a Better Way Forward for America's Conservative Party. Lieutenant Governor, thank you for joining us. Did I frame that correctly? Is there any doubt in your mind why David Perdue is going to run against Governor Brian Kemp?
No, absolutely. I think you did a great job. Brian Kemp is probably Georgia's most conservative governor in history. He's done everything he needs to do. He's, we've cut taxes, we've increased teacher pay, we've navigated through a pandemic, we've got $6 billion in a rainy day fund. And quite honestly, David Perdue should know better than this. He's the only one to blame for losing his last election to Jon Ossoff. And he ran the worst campaign ever. And that's his fault, not Brian Kemp's or Geoff Duncan's or any other Republican's fault.
What issue do you see him running on? I mean, what do you think the big issue for him is then?
Well, it appears early on that he's going to try to carry Donald Trump's water on the conspiracy stuff, and that seems to be the only tailwind he's got. And it's unfortunate, and it's a continued, we watch this play out all across the country. But look, this is a short-term sugar high. It's going to wear off. The quicker we take our medicine as Republicans and move on and focus on the next election, the next opportunity to lead this country, the quicker we're going to get the White House back, the Senate back, the House back, and have opportunities to put our conservative leadership on display.
What does it do to your party in Georgia?
Well, it continues to disrupt us. It's another embarrassing example of our fascination with self-inflicted wounds. But I think we've got some better days in front of us. GOP 2.0, as you mentioned earlier, is just a better pathway forward. It's one that spends a majority of our energy talking about the policies that we're good at as Republicans, because believe it or not, we are good at a number of policies. And I think a majority of Americans will line up with those. But we just keep forgetting to remind people of what we're good at and doing it with a better tone than 280 characters on Twitter.
Governor Kemp says that Perdue promised him he wouldn't run. Do you know anything about that?
Well, I've certainly heard the governor talk about that. And, if that's what he said, it's hard to imagine he wouldn't honor his word. But look, I think that it's hard sometimes to lose publicly. I'm sure David Perdue feels the tension of losing in a public display in the election. And he's trying to save face. And unfortunately, he's just going to create even more disruption and chaos. And quite honestly, I mean, look, I would be really worried if Stacey Abrams was the governor right now, right? I mean, that's the opponent we're trying to beat. If we would have had her as governor during the pandemic, we certainly wouldn't have had our kids back in the classroom learning. We certainly wouldn't have money in our rainy day fund. We certainly wouldn't have been able to have a 3% unemployment rate. I mean, these are real things that Georgians care about. And instead, we're going to spend millions, hundreds of millions of dollars trying to defend what was, 3 years of conservative leadership.
Who has a better chance against Stacey Abrams, do you think?
Well, I think leadership matters, and I think Brian Kemp certainly does. He's going to be able to put on display what small business owners care about, and that's being able to get back to work. Parents care about in the classroom having their kids educated, trying to navigate through the difficult times of civil unrest in this state, with the result being a hate crimes piece of legislation that he signed. Brian Kemp certainly does, and we don't need the traveling circus of Donald Trump to stay here in Georgia. We need it to stay down in Mar-a-Lago working on his handicap, playing golf, and let us be conservatives here in Georgia and move forward.
Do you know for certain that you can beat a Trump candidate? You can beat Trump in Georgia in a Republican primary?
Well, here's what I do know. Policies matter. Policies matter. The quality of a candidate matters. The quality of a campaign matters. And if the only thing you've got is talking about the policy of conspiracy theories, you're going to lose. And we've seen that unfortunately play out in Senate races here and other races. Leadership matters. And I think over the next few months, we're going to be able to put those big decisions on display for Georgians. And I think that's going to result in Brian Kemp winning the election.
Lieutenant Governor Geoff Duncan, I appreciate you joining us this morning. Thanks so much.
Thanks, John.